I remember staring at my phone, my heart racing, unsure if I should even send the message. "Can you be my date for my ex's wedding?" I typed, erased, and typed again. The words felt heavy, almost ridiculous, but the thought of going alone made my stomach twist. I hit send before I could overthink it, and then sat there, frozen, wondering who, of all people, would ever agree. Seconds stretched into minutes, and when the reply finally came, I nearly dropped my phone. It was simple, just 2 words, "I will." But what followed that day was something none of us could have expected. Before I dive deeper, if you love stories that touch the heart and remind us what kindness and human connection really mean, consider subscribing to Kindness Tales. Hit that like button if this story resonates with you, and share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. It started with the end of a chapter in my life. I had been dating someone for 3 years, and when he ended things, it was messy. I had spent countless nights replaying conversations, questioning what went wrong, and feeling the sting of someone who used to know me so well walking away. When I got the invitation to his wedding, I thought I could handle it on my own. I told myself I was strong, that I didn't need anyone, that I could smile politely and leave before the ceremony even began. But as the day approached, the thought of walking into that venue alone, surrounded by people who once cheered for him and me as a couple, made my chest tighten. I considered canceling, avoiding it entirely. Then, a friend joked, "Why don't you ask someone unexpected? Someone who'd make a splash?" That idea planted a tiny seed in my mind. I thought of someone I had only met a few times but who left a lasting impression, a man who had always been kind, surprisingly attentive, and genuinely caring. He was a CEO, someone I'd only known professionally, yet in those brief encounters, he had shown a warmth that I hadn't forgotten. The more I thought about it, the more absurdly perfect it seemed. So, I typed the message. The first words out of my mouth were hesitant, almost embarrassed, but there was an honesty in them too. I needed someone who wouldn't just sit silently beside me, someone who could share the awkwardness and maybe even make me laugh when it felt impossible. His reply, "I will," came almost instantly. I stared at my phone, disbelieving. Why would he agree? He had no obligation. He didn't know me that well. And yet, he said yes. The day of the wedding arrived, and I felt a mixture of dread and relief. Seeing him waiting at the curb in a crisp suit, his calm smile greeting me like an old friend, made my anxiety momentarily fade. We got in the car, and for the first time in weeks, I felt the nervous energy in my chest start to untangle. He cracked jokes on the drive over, asking about my ex in a teasing but gentle way, and I laughed, feeling my shoulders loosen. It was strange how someone I barely knew could already make me feel safer than I had in months. The wedding venue was elegant, filled with flowers, laughter, and a kind of warmth that was almost suffocating if you were on the outside. I felt that familiar pang of awkwardness, realizing I was here because of someone I used to love, and yet here was this man, walking beside me, making it feel almost normal. We took our seats, and he didn't just stay silent. He leaned in at the right moments, whispered encouragements, and somehow, his presence made the ceremony bearable. I noticed little acts of kindness that went beyond etiquette, holding doors, offering a hand when someone stumbled, making everyone around him feel comfortable. It was subtle, but it contrasted so sharply with my own anxieties that I couldn't help but feel grateful for him. As the ceremony began, the air shifted. The vows started, and I felt my chest tighten in a way that surprised me. The words my ex was saying, meant to be a promise of forever, struck a chord in me, not of jealousy, but of reflection. The CEO beside me noticed my trembling hands and gently rested his hand over mine. That small gesture, that simple human touch, grounded me. I realized then that I had been carrying so much alone, pain, disappointment, self-doubt, and this stranger, this unexpected friend, had entered my life and made a space for kindness that didn't demand anything in return. By the time the vows ended, I was quiet, processing everything. My ex's happiness didn't sting as I thought it might. Instead, it highlighted a truth I hadn't fully admitted: life doesn't end with one heartbreak, and support can come from the most unexpected places. The man who had agreed to be my date didn't just sit through the ceremony, he stayed for me. He stayed in a world that wasn't his, offering comfort without judgment, without expectation. Watching the couple exchange rings, I realized I wasn't just learning to let go of the past, I was learning to accept the beauty in others' kindness, to recognize it, and to allow it in. After the ceremony, there was a moment when we stepped outside to catch our breath. He looked at me and said, "You did great. I'm proud of you." It was simple, and yet it felt monumental. Here was someone acknowledging my vulnerability, my courage to face a painful situation, without any grand gestures, without fanfare. That moment of recognition, that small act of kindness, stayed with me. I understood that kindness doesn't have to be loud to be transformative. Sometimes, it's quiet, gentle, and steady, like a hand over yours when you feel most exposed. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of congratulations, laughter, and polite conversation. He mingled with people I didn't know, introducing me, making me feel seen without overwhelming me. The kindness he showed wasn't just toward me, it radiated outward. Guests commented on his warmth, his genuine interest in everyone he spoke to. By the end of the night, I realized that the man who had simply agreed to be my date had done more than that. He had reminded me that empathy, attentiveness, and human decency are qualities worth seeking and cherishing. Driving home later that night, I felt lighter than I had in months. The wedding, which I had dreaded, had become a turning point, not because of the event itself, but because of the way someone's simple choice to be kind and present could transform a difficult experience. I thought about how often we underestimate the power of showing up for someone, how much it can mean to just be there when the world feels like it's closing in. That night, I didn't just feel gratitude for the man who had come with me, I felt inspired to carry that same spirit forward in my own life. In the days that followed, I found myself reflecting on the encounter over and over. Life has a way of placing strangers in our path who, through small, selfless acts, leave a mark on our hearts. It made me realize that kindness doesn't always need a reason, sometimes, it's offered freely, and that generosity of spirit can change how we view the world. I also realized that facing uncomfortable situations doesn't have to be lonely. Accepting help, allowing others to be there for us, is a strength, not a weakness. The experience reminded me that human connection, genuine empathy, and small acts of courage can create ripples far beyond what we imagine. Months later, thinking back to that wedding, I still feel a warmth that surprises me. The memory of him staying, of the quiet kindness he offered, has become a touchstone for how I try to live my own life. I carry it into my work, my friendships, my family, even strangers I meet on the street. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person willing to step in, to offer a hand, a kind word, or simply their presence, to make the unbearable bearable. And sometimes, the smallest act of kindness leaves the largest imprint on our hearts. This story taught me that life's most meaningful moments often arrive unexpectedly, and that true kindness is never transactional, it's a gift freely given, a reminder that we are not alone. We all have the capacity to be that person for someone else, to offer support when it's needed most, to stay when others might walk away. I hope that this story inspires you to reach out, to be present, to notice the small opportunities where your kindness can matter. And if you have a story of someone who stayed for you, who offered their heart when you needed it most, share it in the comments. Because the world becomes brighter, one act of kindness at a time, and there's nothing more powerful than knowing we can make a difference in each other's lives.